WPTV News Channel 5 today on 5 at 11.
Today on 5, President Biden on the move. Campaign stops this afternoon in Jupiter and Miami. This morning, the timing, the mission, and how his trip could impact you traffic-wise.
We do have team coverage today for you on the arrival of the president's plane at Palm Beach International Airport. His first stop today, expected to be in Jupiter.
We'll keep track of all of that. Good morning and welcome to Today on 5. I'm Michael Williams.
And I'm Shannon Cake. Today, the 2024 presidential election is coming to South Florida.
Certainly the fundraising piece of it. Every candidate, Democrat or Republican, for decades, right here, where a lot of the money is. President Biden on his way to Palm Beach County. Again, he'll be in Jupiter and Miami today. The timing is something the White House keeps close to the vest, but you are looking as Air Force One prepares to depart from Andrews Joint Base outside Washington, D.C. We also, the president, as he was leaving the White House, talking about the situation overseas. 3 U.S. soldiers killed, many more hurt by a drone strike the other day inside Jordan. Iranian proxies believed to be behind that. The U.S. now gauging the certain military response, the shape, scope, and size of that as you watch Air Force One preparing to depart.
That's right. And the press corps, as you mentioned, Michael, as he spoke to them before heading to Joint Base Andrews there to board Air Force One, they really pressed him on the response, the U.S. response to that attack on those 3 U.S. soldiers. So, and they anticipated his response was measured, that they're still discussing, but there would be a response. But he said they were not looking for a wider war in that region. So as he lands here in Florida, those questions are sure to follow him here.
And these will be fundraisers. Whether we get any kind of those answers here, though, is usually very problematic. These are fundraisers with a lot of high rollers who've come here to support and rub shoulders with the president. Again, President Biden today. Nikki Haley's supposed to be here tomorrow. Of course, all this in the backyard of former President Donald Trump. When the president does arrive in Palm Beach County, again, as you said, Shannon, he'll make his way to Jupiter.
That's right. And our Chris Gilmore, he's live at the Pelican Club in Jupiter. It's a staging area for the president's visit this afternoon. Chris?
That's right, Shannon. We're as close as we can get to the Pelican Club right now here along A1A and US 1 in Jupiter. They are already preparing for that timing of that presidential visit. The exact timing fuzzy, but you can see Jupiter police here already blocking off some of those accesses to the parking lot of that club. If you pan over also, while you see, you got PBSO here as well. We saw some suited Secret Service personnel here as well. Traffic already being turned away. You have to have credentials to get in that building where the president, as you mentioned, Michael, will be taking advantage of that economic opportunity. It's a great location if you haven't been to the Pelican Club before, overlooking the Jupiter Inlet. You got a view of the lighthouse there as the Loxahatchee River exits out into the inlet. There are signs, as I showed you, the grand occasion is going to happen here in a few hours. We do hope to get a glimpse of that presidential motorcade as soon as he exits the Palm Beach International Airport. We'll be standing by for that, of course. But a fundraiser event is what this is billed as Michael mentioned. A lot of high rollers, huge donor opportunity as the president really is kicking this campaign into high gear. And as you guys mentioned, this isn't going to be the last stop, but it's almost a stop where he has to start making up some of the lost ground that we saw over the last midterm elections of 2022. Right now, a huge issue as well is votership. Republicans now lead this state in terms of registered voters by a margin of around 800,000. So you'll likely see the president here a few times before the big general election in November. But as you see, rolling out the welcome mat here along A1A, the Pelican Club, expected to be one of those visits. We'll keep you posted as we await that arrival. Back to you guys.
Thank you much. And we have footage of President Biden as he was coming off of Marine One at Joint Base Andrews a short while ago. This tape of the president greeting Air Force officers, the Marine Guard there, of course, as he was preparing to board Air Force One. Sean Dominic here locally, a noted malpractice lawyer. He and his wife and his partner, Fred Cunningham, from a noted firm here, will be co-host of this event. Others are coming in from across Florida, and what's been billed as an event that was spearheaded by the state party, but being co-hosted, again, by local lawyers Sean Dominic and Fred Cunningham. And the number of people who will be there, always closely held because the Secret Service wants it that way, but we'll continue to follow that. As you saw the president a short a while ago. Again, this is tape as he headed to Air Force One to prepare to depart. At the top of our broadcast, you saw Air Force One rolling out live. But so timing-wise, that should put him here about 2 hours or so.
And
that's a rough estimation.
Right, and the Pelican Club, again, a rough estimation, about 20 minutes or so from PBIA, so it should take the president about 20 minutes to get there, depending on the route. And as you mentioned, that's held closely to the vest. And you saw Chris Gilmore's coverage of the Pelican Club, just an amazing, the hot new event location. If you're from the Jupiter, northern Palm Beach County area, for sure. It's a gorgeous backdrop, but Matt Cesney is prepping us for what we anticipate to be the president's route en route to the Pelican Club. He's right there at Indiantown Road and US 1 in Jupiter.
Yeah, that's right, Shannon. We're just down the road from where Chris is at the Pelican Club. This is Route 1, the intersection of Indiantown Road right here. We do, as you mentioned, expect the presidential motorcade to come through here on the way to the Pelican Club when the president does arrive and is on his way. You know, this location for this fundraising event for the president has been pretty much a well-kept secret for a couple days now. Known only to authorities and those very wealthy donors who are forking over money to attend this event this afternoon. I'm told that the price tag is at least $5,000 to get in the door, but a lot of those donors will be shelling out even more money, depending upon the level of access, maybe to have a conversation or a picture taken with the president. I did speak with a couple of political figures and experts about this presidential fundraising visit. So take a listen to some insight here.
It's no surprise. I mean, both parties do this. They come to Palm Beach and they're able to raise huge money, and then they spend it in other states because Florida, unfortunately for us, has lost its designation as a swing state. The fact that President Biden is coming to Palm Beach tells you that he is serious about raising enough money to counter Donald Trump and the MAGA movement.
All right, so, you know, it is a big concern for Democrats because in the last couple of election cycles, Florida has gone red, both for Donald Trump in the presidential election and for Governor Ron DeSantis in his latest re-election bid. Republicans, of course, registered Republicans outnumber Democrats in the state. And Democrats are actually, you speak to some of them behind the scenes, they're hoping this presidential visit can start to bring up a little momentum for the party as we head into this election season in 2024. But, you know, once again, we have to keep in mind this presidential visit is not really about speaking to the masses or drumming up some wide support for the campaign. It's about getting the money for the campaign. It's the nuts and bolts of how a campaign gets going. And that's what's happening today up here in Jupiter. We're live in Jupiter. Matt Cesney, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Matt, thank you so much. And paraphrasing a bit what you aptly said yesterday, Matt, red states, blue states, but as Matt said yesterday, green is color that all of them can see. And there's plenty of green here. President Obama, the last on a national level to win Florida in 2012. Here, we'll have footage of that for you later. President Bush back in 2004. It's interesting that the Pelican Club, the presidential history intertwined with our community, the Pelican Club where President Biden will be today, you can take a charter on the Honey Fitz, the famed yacht of the Kennedy family. So presidents, or presidential hopefuls, I should say, and much more, all intertwined with the history of Palm Beach County.
They all come, and Nikki Haley is doing the same, looking for green as well. Not just President Biden here trying to cash in on Florida. The former South Carolina governor and presidential hopeful Nikki Haley will be visiting tomorrow. In fact, she will be holding a fundraising event right near former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. That invitation event only, also reported listing about 20 millionaires and billionaires on the invite list. This is not the first time Haley has come to our area, probably looking for money more than votes, but votes as well, right? In search of votes and dollars. She attended a retreat at the Breakers last February. So since the New Hampshire primary, Haley has raised about $4 million for her coffers, her campaign coffers.
And it's another signal that right now she's still in it to try to win it. She, of course, lost to Iowa, did a little bit better. Some argue, many do, that she lost by 11 points in New Hampshire, as we're joined by longtime News Channel 5 political analyst Brian Crowley, but has really ticked off the former president. The Wall Street Journal today, you know, President Biden's coming here to Donald Trump's backyard, but it's Nikki Haley who's under his skin right now. He said her donors would not be part of his MAGA movement if they keep it up. So those are the real fireworks going on in the Republican Party now. It's still presumptively going to be a Biden-Trump matchup. Brian, your first thoughts on that?
Well, you know, Donald Trump would love to see Nikki Haley get crushed in the South Carolina primary. I think he's fairly convinced that if that happens, that she'll drop out and he'll have a free ride to the nomination from there. Nikki Haley has suggested that even if she loses in South Carolina, she's sticking around until Super Tuesday and at least through the March 19th primaries that will include Florida. So it's going to be an interesting period of time for the for the Trump-Haley ticket.
By the way, Brian, there was a day when you would never hear a Democrat this early in the cycle basically cede the state to the Republicans. You've been saying for years, as we talk on To the Point elsewhere, that it is a red state now. But you hear Dave Ehrenberg, you hear a lot of others saying Florida's red and it's not going back right now. And that former President Donald Trump's teed up to win. Should he be the nominee, he presumptively is on that route right now to be winning the third biggest electoral prize in November. The Democrats in some ways throwing up the white flag now. Talk about that with your history of covering politics down here.
Well, you know, one of the ironies of President Biden going to Jupiter is one of the reddest parts of Palm Beach County is North County and the Jupiter area. So it's interesting that he's gone there. Another thing that's also happened, too, is that the Democrats in this state are still struggling. They've been struggling for decades. They really haven't had much of a comeback. DeSantis appeared to weaken as a result of his presidential campaign, but apparently not enough to make great inroads for the Democrats in Florida. I'm sure some of the Florida Democrats wish that with all the money that President Biden is going to raise today in Jupiter, I'm sure they hope he'll spend some of it helping Democrats in Florida.
Again, once upon a time, a swing state, and the most crucial one not there now. Brian, you'll be with us throughout the day because we'll keep an eye on everything. And as the president arrives here, we'll go to continuous coverage of his arrival here. We'll have all of that for you for his campaign visit here. Then it'll be on to Miami, where he'll sit with Chris Korg, another noted Democratic fundraiser in the Miami area. I've stood outside many a palm tree down there, including one near his home.
In your 40 years of covering Florida politics, Michael Williams.
Yeah, I get to interview the palm trees at fundraisers like this. Because
and many more other than the palm trees.
You're well away from the action, and the action's inside as the pictures are being taken and the checks are being cut. The mother's milk of campaigning, the money, big campaign visit to Palm Beach County, then on to Miami. We're going to have full coverage of all of it throughout the day on air and online at WPTV.com.